Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Spiritual as Fuck
or whatever
podcast. My name's Joe Clements.
I'm Roxan McDonald.
And today we're going to talk about imposter syndrome. Yeah, maybe some fear.
Yeah, fear.
Fear.
Yeah. Play your flute for a second.
Yeah. Remember how I said I hated it? I fucking love me a flute.
Do it.
Oh, see, that wasn't good. That's the one I wanted. It's kind of relaxing when I'm not, insecure about it.
Yeah.
It's my flute.
That's Joe's flute. We talked about Joe's bowls last time. Now we're highlighting Joe's flute.
Just put those things together and just kind of mix them up. See what happens.
Okay. So imposter syndrome. It came up. We decided to do this because I woke up terrified. I actually had nightmares last night, and I have nightmares about my Instagram account regularly.
Do you?
Yeah, and then I wake up in the morning and I'm like, I'm so glad I didn't post that. I actually had a dream that I posted all these things in the story, and then the last thing, and it was like serious stuff. And it's something, I think the last thing I posted said something about attack, and then I posted a slide that said my pussy and my crack.
Shit. So attack.
It was like something about like a spiritual attack, and it was like, and then I was all, oh, ha ha, because it's like I used to have this joke with when I was waitressing, and everyone was waiting for the time to say my pussy and my crack, and so then I put that on the story, and then in my dream I woke up after 6 hours, and people are just like, we hate you, you suck, how could you do this? And then so when I woke up in the morning, I actually had to go and look to be like, I really didn't do that, did I?
I hate those dreams.
Yeah. Which I used to have waitressing dreams, and now I have social media dreams. But it's also the part is that I'm like, people are going to find out that I am an imposter, or that I'm not actually good, or that and it just brings up a lot of this stuff about what it means to like put yourself out there and put yourself out there in any way. Like,
what are you imposing? What are you imposturing? What would it be?
Well, being somebody who it has expertise, being somebody who is worthy of being listened to, being a teacher of any sort. Like, I mean, I was recently,
like, why do they care? Why is
or why do you get to do that?
Why do you get to do it?
And it's come up a lot because I am putting myself out there more and more. This podcast gives me nightmares. And it gives me nightmares to be putting together a course of teaching people how, I'm putting together this course, and it's about teaching people how to stay positive in rough times, and to train ourselves to bring more good shit into our lives. Yeah. And I'm like, well, why am I allowed to say that? Right. Like, I'm not a billionaire. Yeah. I don't have like a staff. Yeah. Yeah. I don't have like a staff of people. I mean, I think I have a stick at home. So, but it's just like.
But is it because you find yourself still making quote unquote mistakes? You're still human.
Yeah.
And it's like we're supposed to be a certain way if we're doing a certain thing.
Yeah. Or that if I was allowed to do the thing, I wouldn't be afraid to do it. And therefore my fear of it is meaning that I am not really the kind of person who should be doing it. Right. Because there's so many ways that I can look out in the world and see people doing things where they are really polished and they are doing it in, they've done, like, they've gone and edited like their their marketing, and their hair looks great. They
Right.
do all this stuff that, I mean, they have put the work in.
Yeah.
And they speak in a way that is different than I do, or whatever. All the ways I can say they're ready and I'm not.
They can say words.
Yes.
And I just kind of go, blah, 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 blah. That's what I feel. That's my own experience. Not what I hear
Yeah.
you say, because I think you can articulate stuff really well. And what I see, just to not reflect, but just what I see, especially on the Instagram, is who you are. Super smart, witty, funny, and humble. You know, it's
Ish.
like, yeah. But I do see that. There's like, and that's you. You know, and there's depth, but with a sense of humor and with a sense of resourcing too. So I don't know. It's interesting how we can perceive ourselves and how we think others are perceiving us.
Yeah, and there's the idea of getting out of other people's heads, which I
Right.
think
Yeah,
is
yeah.
one of the most freeing practices I have ever taken on. About what other people think about me is none of my fucking business.
It's hard. It's
And-
difficult.
yeah. And what I think about me is really important.
Yeah.
And how I present myself isn't really important. And not present myself in that polished way, but how do I speak about myself? So we were talking about stepping into leadership, stepping into having a voice, stepping into going for what we want or what we feel called to do.
Yeah.
And I've been doing that. And I think people see me externally. I get a lot back where people are like, you're so confident and you just go for it. And I'm like, if you knew me, you would know that I am terrified before I do everything. Like, even just saying that, I'm getting teary-eyed because I'm like, I am terrified.
Yeah.
I'm terrified of writing. I'm terrified of talking in front of people. I don't have so much stage fright, but it's just it's like the putting myself out there is frightening.
Yeah.
And I'm terrified of teaching people to write, even though I've been doing it for so long. And I tell myself all these ways that I am not qualified. And then I've gone out and sought qualifications.
Yeah.
So I used to tell myself it was because I only had a high school diploma from an alternative school that really just wanted me to be sober and talk about my feelings.
Yeah.
And then when I got an undergrad, it was that I just had an undergrad degree from a woo-woo school that really just wanted me to talk about my feelings. And then when I, being a writing teacher, it was that I don't have anything majorly published. And I didn't have an MFA. So then I go and I'm already teaching writing and I go and get an MFA. And so now when I look at it on paper, I'm highly educated.
Yeah.
And I have been telling myself all along, just to back up, that it's because I'm trailer trash and everyone's going to see that I'm actually like really not articulate and I really shouldn't even be here because I'm not even middle class and I'm just trying to pass and all that stuff. And what happened for me is that I was at a training that my publisher sent me to. So my publisher for the decks was like wanting me to write more editorials and become more of a thought leader. And so they sent me to this really incredible workshop where it was teaching people to write editorials or op-eds.
Okay.
And so
What's an op-ed?
it's like where you opinion editorial, I think,
okay.
where you are coming out, making yourself an expert in some field.
I see. I see.
And the idea is to get more people of marginalized groups to write. And so they open it to anybody, but they will only hold the training if it's, I think, 80% female identified people.
Interesting.
And if not, then they will cancel it.
Yeah.
And then they do all this. I got to remember their name and I'll find it and put it in the show notes. But the thing for me that got it right up in my face was that it was a full class. There was probably 25, 30 people there. There were only 2 men. Everyone else were women.
Wow.
We'd already gone around the room and everyone had said who they were. And I was like amazed. There were people, these women who had run multinational NGOs, who were curing cancer, who had PhDs from, Ivy League schools, who were, world-renowned doctors. Yeah. So they were just like, what do you do? Da, da, da. And then me, where I'm like, I'm about
Yes,
some cards,
school.
like, yes, school. And, but then they started talking about like, how do you create yourself as an expert? And then they had us go around the room, and she was like, okay, I'm going to ask you to just stand up and say what you're an expert in and why. Yeah. And does anybody want to start? And everyone just sat there besides the two men.
Wow.
And the guy was like, I'll be an expert. And she's like, well, let's hold off on that.
Yeah.
And it was
we men love to go first, especially white men.
Yeah. And he was an expert. He had expertise. But I was terrified. And then I skipped. I was like, I don't want to do this. And she was like, well, you have to do it. And then, which I usually don't really like, but I was like, okay, I like you.
Yeah.
And then I watched as she went around the
do.
room, and these people who had MDs, PhDs, Ivy League schools, run all these things, were going, I don't know. I just kind of, and like the thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, why are they stumbling on this? And then I stood up and said, I am an expert on people making positive change in their life, especially at a young age. I got sober when I was 15 years old. I ran recovery high schools and gang diversion programs for 14 years. I have this, I have a
You've
long
done some
history,
shit.
blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And when I sat down, I wanted to cry and puke, and I couldn't let it go. And then I started looking around in my life, and I was like, there is we are told, really pressured to minimize our accomplishments in order to not seem arrogant.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of pressure when you grow up being female.
I was going to ask, because it's different gender.
Yes.
Yeah. How we're raised.
Yeah. And I
can
think
be proud, like the proud white men fucking raising their hand first in a group.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which I'm not saying that men don't have that issue, because I'm going to turn this around on you soon, Joe.
Yeah.
But then I started going, what have I been doing? What am I watching all these people in my life do? And we minimize. We're like, oh, it was just a school in Oregon that I got my master's, or like, well, I don't know. I just kind of showed up and that's what happened. Like people ask me about my social media platform, and there is I am lucky. I am privileged in so many ways. Yeah. And when people ask me, I'm like, I don't know, just people just like it, I guess. And it's just memes. And then I'm like, well, what's the truth under that? Yeah. And the truth is that I have shown up since 2013, posting 3 memes a day at least, writing personal stuff about myself, putting myself out there, showing up for people, creating a community where we support each other, where, I get up every morning and I respond to direct messages about people wanting to try to change their lives. Yeah. And that is why I have 104,000 followers.
And just
it's so hard to even say it.
It's beautiful. And just inspiring people every day. It's inspiring. I see and know people that follow you, I follow you, and it's just inspiring. It's like, oh yes, it's like there's a message and it's funny. It's not just watching somebody trip, which is super funny, but then there's also a message in there too of like, oh yeah. Like I brought the Grateful AF cards into one of my groups yesterday. These people have been asking me, can you bring the cards again? I just give everybody a card and they read one side and the other side, and it's a relatable, funny, and I think it lands in a different way, because there is, and it's so beautiful to be able to own that. Who you truly are, who you truly are. Well,
and for me, I am having in the last 7 months in order for me to do what I need to do. I'm writing this memoir. I wrote the decks. I'm promoting these decks. I started this podcast with you. I teach. I'm doing retreats. I was like, I have to own this.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to mess it up. I'm going to mess myself up. And so because I'm like, I see this so often that what are powerful women especially told to do, and we are told to hide and minimize, because what did they do to us? What did they do to powerful women in the past? They burned us, they drown us, and if we didn't drown, then they would take us to the square and burn us, and everyone would scream and point and blame her. And that, I'm not gonna like the history of what happens to people who really, especially women, who really own who they are and what they're about. And the truth for me is that I have dealt with self-hatred for so long, a deep self-loathing that just gets into the pores of everything I do and everything I think about myself, that I have had to get willing to look arrogant in order to just combat this in myself and make room for myself. And then hopefully it is a rebellious act that allows other people to own themselves. And yes, it's wrought with mistakes. It's wrought with like overdoing it. It could be a dumb thing for me to be doing, but for me, I was like,
to be arrogant,
to be willing to be arrogant,
Like, can there be a humble arrogance?
Well, that for me, I'm like, that was a false humility. And false humility is arrogance.
Yeah. Is it almost like someone's gonna fucking put me down, so I'm gonna put myself down first?
Yeah, and to just project why I'm gonna fuck it up before I fuck it up, so therefore I already knew I was gonna fuck it up.
Yeah, the brick before it gets thrown at me, I'm gonna throw the brick.
Yes.
Yeah, I know that wound.
And it does. It there is a way that when you like, I also want to name that, like, I am being helped all over the place.
You have support.
I have support. I have support that, and then I can look at that to go like, I have people in my life who inexplicably show up for me. They show up for me with their time. They show up for me with their money. They show up for me with their food. People have been supporting me. And part of it is because I show up for them. And another part of it is that I have talent, and I'm blessed with talent, and I'm blessed with a personality that people like, you know, like, and to just go, I'm likable. And some people fucking hate me. That's, well, a few, not that many. Anyway,
I can only imagine.
But this came up because too, about being in this relationship, not relationship, but you know, we have like come back together and having our relationship about new friendship again with like an old history.
It's fucking crazy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And watching you and really wanting to be like, Joe, you
that's
have
that support
a voice.
That that's what I was reflecting on a little bit. I was like, oh, how you support me. That's what you're finding somewhere. You know what I mean? And you are doing that like tenfold.
Well, and to just watch as you like step into your own about who you are and what you're about, and putting yourself out there, because it's scary.
It's super scary. It's super scary.
Do you want to talk about that a little bit? Has this brought anything up for you?
I just want to sit in my fear.
Just play your fucking flute, Joe.
I would play my flute. Can I play my flute? So it is fucking scary. And it's like, there was actually one of your cards about what is the, what does a butterfly do when it molts or whatever? But
it's chrysalis.
It's chrysalis. So it's like, we got to turn into mud first. Just like, you know, and kind of a metaphor thing. Last night, my son has hermit crabs. They don't do anything, but he loves these hermit crabs. And one of them's been out of its shell for a couple days, and it's molting. It's molting, but it looks dead. And he's like, I hear him whimpering. I'm like, oh, dude, what's going on? I think, he calls it, Junior or something, is dead. And I'm like, oh, shit, okay, you know, and I fucking pick him up. And I'm like, oh, I don't think it is. It was still kind of warm and soft. And you put it down, and it's like, it's just frozen. You know what I mean? But I guess that's what they do. And they find another shell that's bigger, and then they live and they get stronger. So it's kind of like, in a sense, that's what we're doing. We're fucking, you know, we're chrysalis. What did you do that? I don't know.
We're in a chrysalis. We're fucking butterfly soup right now.
Yeah, we're butterfly soup, or I'm that fucking hermit crab is just like with no shell, just going, oh, you know what I mean? Don't fucking touch me. I'm sensitive, you know? But I know that wound. I know whether it's a wound, whether my upbringing was that, why are you doing that? Why didn't you be more like this person or that person? Or just like, so I never felt like I was enough. I never felt like I was definitely not good enough, not fast enough, handsome enough, smart enough, you know? And, I have that imposter syndrome where I do groups. People people keep asking me to come back and do more, you know, and I'll do the same thing where like, yeah, I don't know, I just show up. And if I think I do more than just show the fuck up. I hold a lot of space for people to come to their own healing, listen to their stories, create a safe container for fucking people to really open up. It's a lot of work, you know, and that has a lot to do with me being comfortable in myself with my practice, you know, because I've dealt with that self-doubt. In early recovery, I'd wake up in the morning and I'd just be like, oh my God, that story was there. Like, you're not good enough. You're 40 years old, getting sober again, you dumbass. No one wants to record with you. I was running a recording studio at the time. You're the worst. And it's like, oh my God. And so I would fucking stuff that. And I didn't have drugs and alcohol, so I break out my blame thrower. I think I talked about the blame thrower on here before, where it's like I fucking just blame everybody else for the way I'm feeling. So I try to, that's where I was coming out. But the more I practiced and the more as I got to feel comfortable enough in my skin to like, what am I feeling? Where do I feel it? I feel a heaviness in my stomach. This story's going on. Self-doubt, and it's there. And I stopped running from it. I knew when that was coming, how I wanted to get rid of it. I just was there with it. So now when that shit comes up, the doubt's still there. I still got it. But I'm not so attached to it anymore. It just pauses me a little bit instead of just stopping me in my tracks, you know? I go into groups and people are like, I walk in and there's like, you're just so zen when you sit down. And I'm like, oh, if you fucking only knew what was going on in my head and my heart right now. But thank you, you know, and that's the practice. Yeah. Not just meditation practice, but just being with who we are, who I am, you know, and it, like you said, I'm starting to see, you know, we talked about community a little bit ago, and I think that'd be a great topic to get into, but it's like, I have a handful of people that really see me, and I trust that they see me, and now I'm starting to see myself through their eyes, in a sense. Like, I can see myself when you were saying, dude, you're killing, you're owning, and it's like, I'm kind of believing it, not that I'm killing, you know, but I'm believing it. Like, oh, I can do this. I'm not an imposter. Yeah. Like, I would walk into groups and I'm teaching mindfulness and emotional awareness to a bunch of drug addicts, and I just came out of yelling at my kid because he was fucking running late for school, you know? And it's like, I still do that once in a while, you know? But there's a resiliency. I know when that's happening, I can make amends, whatever it is. I'm not just like fucking bull in a china shop.
Well, I think that there's the thing too about fear. For me, used to be a brick wall. Yeah. And I would just hit it and it would be done. If I have a fear, done. And now it's a skin. Yeah. And I push through it. Yeah. And then there's something on the other side. Yeah. And then the other part too is about putting ourselves out there. Yeah. Because for me, I think of the guy, you know, when you're at like a show or a wedding, and then there's the first guy on the dance floor. Or woman, you know, and then they're dancing and like super into it. And then there's this like this thing where I will feel uncomfortable for that person because I'm like, oh, they're doing that. And then the room, like, and then there's all the different people in that area. It's like who becomes the guy that dances next? Who becomes the person who jumps in? At what point do we jump in? Yeah. And when I get away from all of my judgment and all of my stuff, like, isn't it beautiful to be the first guy on the dance floor, to be, even if everyone else is judging, like,
but in that dude is opening up for everybody else. You know, just like in a group,
Yeah.
when somebody opens up to their experience, maybe sheds a tear or something, that first gets is a favor for it. Does a service for everybody in the group. It's that compassion. Everybody gets to feel compassion, and that's a beautiful thing to feel. And then we get to open up.
Yeah.
So that's beautiful that we can do that. Be the first to fucking go in there.
Even if we are dancing in a ridiculous way.
Yeah, I wanted.
Even if this podcast sucks.
Yeah.
And people laugh at us and they're like, okay, you're another dipshit who starts a fucking podcast, like
Dumb and Dumber,
you know?
or what? Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And
yeah.
it
How
goes,
many podcasts do we need?
Yeah. And
a lot, apparently.
A lot.
We're fucked up human beings.
Mine. But then also the idea too about being humble enough to fail, being humble enough to
willing to fail. And I did a post, like, I really feel like doing this shit is like jumping out of a fucking airplane.
Oh yeah, do that. Talk about your that thing.
I everything I've been doing has been jumping out of an airplane, but I've had these people packing my parachute. Right? It's like, okay, I'm cool, right? I'm ready to fucking jump. And they're like, yeah, you fucking, let's go. You know, I got you. Or a lot of time is that person on my back pulling the string for me because I don't even know how to pull the fucking string.
Like the ground's coming.
Yeah,
and then they're like, Joe, pull the fucking string.
Yeah, well, yeah. Now doing shit like this, the podcast, or last night I did a new meditation group, like on my own, not at a center where they already had groups. It's not with one of my friends said, hey, will you fill in me? It was like, I fucking did this shit and said, okay, let's do this.
It was so good.
I jumped out of the airplane. You know what I mean? I jumped out of the airplane by myself. I packed my own chute and I pulled the string myself. But I gotta recognize too that the people that taught me to pack that parachute, when to pull the fucking string, you know what I mean? So I'm standing on their shoulders in a sense, you know? And I got to be willing to fail, to fumble. Trungpa Rinpoche, his quote, I'll misquote it, but it's like, life can be, or something, we can be falling out of an airplane, free falling. But the good news is there's no ground to land on. So I love that, because what I get out of that is just fucking, so if I think about that, what would that feel like, just out of an airplane and there's no fear that you're going to get hurt. You can just enjoy the view. The thrill, so there's all kinds of nuances in that. If you're not afraid of what it's going to feel like when you land and splat, you know what I mean? Because this shit may take a big old fucking dump. This podcast no one might have came to my fucking group last night or whatever.
But people did. And they were stoked.
Fucking maybe 5 people will get something out of the podcast. So that keeps me going. And, yeah, I'm not an imposter, and I still fail. I'm still human. I still fumble. Yeah. I was in bands for a long time. I just want to mention that because like when you say like, oh, I'm not, when people are like, in Santa Cruz, there was people loved the band that I was in. And especially they would always come into, you've changed my life with your lyrics. And it's like, oh my, it's like, oh, that part of my life. And I'm like, oh yeah, I was just a dumb guy fucking yelling in a microphone up there in key sometimes, you know? And it's like, they just kind of pause and it almost dismiss their experience. So I really had to learn, which is like, I like putting my hand on my heart. Thank you. Fuck, thanks. That means a lot. I'm glad you had that experience. And I really try to, not that, I was a part in that experience, but it wasn't all because of me. I offered a space for somebody to have an experience, so owning that a little bit. And that was a long time. I was always dismissing, almost making fun of that stupid band, whatever, but then how, just the impact that might have on someone else, where we're in these seats, we're doing groups, podcasts, whatever we're doing, we're in the community, and we're trying to offer tools that have fucking helped us in our process with doubt, with fucking all this shit, and offering it to other people, we need to own that. So I appreciate you. And I love I call it the donkey of doubt, and a donkey. But the donkey.
My was better than yours.
It's just fucking, it's
Mine's way better.
It is.
We should have a competition. Wait, you're going to get spiritual for a second, but we just doubt.
But the great donkey of doubt is just telling us to fucking pause. Just fucking pause.
Why is it a donkey?
I don't know. I think the Buddha talked about, he said doubt can be like a donkey between two barrels of hay that starves to death because he doesn't know which one to fucking choose.
Oh.
So it's just like, so there's a story. I listened to this podcast of the story where this guy he was trekking through South America, and his friends thought it'd be funny. He was just fucking backpacking. They fucking gave him a donkey. Said, take this donkey. And he's like, what the fuck? I just, and he had this donkey. And he talked about all these adventures with this donkey and how with this donkey he would go into villages and they would come up to him, all the people, and they would want to feed him and house him and the donkey. So he actually had helped them out a lot of times. And the donkey got sick and yada yada, but it got him back, and they had to go up some huge mountain, and it was fucking a monsoon, and they were like, he was like, we just need to get over this fucking hill, this mountain. They're on this little fucking path, and the donkey's just fucking pausing, just like doesn't want to go, and he's like, fucking let's go, we only have a mile left, and he's just pulling, and right, like the next moment, the whole mountain just slid down. There's a huge mudslide right in front of him, took out the whole path. So it's like, oh shit.
That was a smart ass donkey.
Yeah, the donkey was just fucking paused for a fucking minute. So doubt is not necessarily a bad thing. Just fucking pause, check it out, Fear is not necessarily a bad thing. All these emotions, you can think they're bad, but there's something to be learned from. There's something to be learned from doubt.
Yeah.
Not get caught in the shame of doubt, but pause.
And doubt plays a role in creative excellence.
Yeah.
That I think.
Speak more on that. Yeah.
We don't have much more time, but I think when there's a balance between this just full speed ahead, I'm going to trust myself.
Right.
I'm going to trust creativity. And then the questioning, the self-discernment, the pushback of like, maybe this sucks, maybe it's not up to my taste level, actually pushes us to be better.
Right.
And that as a teacher, I can see the best writers are the ones who are both trusting themselves, taking chances, getting messy, and then having this self-reflection come in and that doubt come in to push them to actually look to go, is this doing what I want it to do? Is this having the impact? How can I make this better? And so that balancing of that, I'm going to go push myself to be out there, to make things, to offer stuff up, but then also having a ability to reflect, to go, am I actually offering something more? And is this actually, just a question, because I think that there is this movement of like self-love and self-acceptance that anything is good and it's fine, and that's true, and
kind of can bypass really quick.
And so to honor that,
to
honor the doubt, honor the self-reflection, I know with my writing, I could have finished my memoir a long time ago, and I have an idea about how I want it to be. And so me having these times where I am paralyzed actually make me stop and make me reflect and make me go find more resources to make myself better. And the thing that I want to add about what you have done is it's not just that you're some dude who used to be in a punk band who now teaches, is that you have dedicated yourself and you have put in hours and hours and hours of meditation, hours and hours and hours of being taught.
It's service, going into juvenile halls, like years just going in, and the only thing I was getting paid in was the fucking the response that these people were getting. So it was like, oh, so I had fed off that. That I was paid in full, and you have read a lot. You have been teachable. And I think the things that we're doing now are, we're kind of flying by the seat of our pants in a lot of ways. And I wanted that with our podcast, especially. I've been asked to do a podcast a lot, and that I just like, I can't have it be all polished. I can't learn how to be a perfect public speaker. And then when I finally started doing videos and I realized like I would get stopped up when it had to be polished. And I would when I finally just put out all of my bloopers, it's when I
when I thought about doing this podcast, I'm like, I both want to like study podcasting and study how to why are the podcasts good that I like, and part of it is that it's a balance between us going and getting help, us learning how to do things like, you know, you using your expertise about sound and stuff, and as both and being willing to be kind of fly by the seat of our pants, because that's the beauty, and I think in how we both have gone about things.
Right. And still go about it. I think that's a huge important thing for me is I'm still practicing. I'm still learning. I still want to learn just from doing these, every conversation you and I have, I'm learning something. And that's the beauty behind all this stuff is like, we're learning together, you know, and that's, yes, I've done the work, I've done the training, but I'm still going. It's the, you know, it doesn't end.
A badass, but not perfect.
Perfect, perfect within my imperfections.
But perfect. But then kind of a fuck up. That's like the whole balance.
Can I play my flute again?
You're just looking for excuses to bring out your flute. Yeah. So anyway, I think that the idea though is like, I don't know I can do something until I've done it.
Yeah.
And that just the way I think I have pushed through fear is by both discerning, pushing through,
discernment,
doing
for sure.
it. I know we talk about discernment a lot.
I love it, but it's I want your end takeaway.
Wave your finger at me.
I want your end takeaway thing, but I have a takeaway thing.
Do your takeaway because I'm done.
Just the when doubt is happening, see what's to be learned. Take a pause, and when we can pause, discernment blossoms. When we're not just like, Rah! It's like if there's doubt, just see what it's telling us. Maybe just a pause.
What's the data in doubt?
What's the data in doubt? And there's discernment always when we can pause. And then we know really there's a better knowing of how to move forward with things.
Yeah. Well, good. All right. That seems to wrap up this episode of the Spiritual as Fuck
or whatever
podcast. I want to thank Jeremy Miller for being an editing, producing, mentoring, badass podcasting
awesome
dude. If you want to check him out at the Betterment Brothers, you can find him there, as well as Flix and Six.
6 being just the number 6, right?
And FLIX, whatever.
Yeah,
it's
figured out.
You'll see it in the show notes. If you like this podcast, please support us by subscribing and giving us a positive review. Anywhere.
Only positive. I'm super sensitive. Come on, I don't want to say the bad ones.
Wherever you are getting this podcast. So if YouTube, iTunes, blah blah, whatever.
Podbeam.
Podbeam. I don't know if that's
something
what
like
people
that?
read on. Anyways,
we're learning. We're still learning.
Help us by spreading the word.
Please.
So please share on social media. If you take a screenshot of the episode and tag me in the Instagram page spiritual_AF, or on Facebook, I will repost you and give you a shout out. And then Joe, where can you be found?
My Instagram is _joe.clements_. You can also check out some of the groups and other offerings I have at josephclements.com. And then you can find me at spiritual-af.com or at roxannemcdonald.com. Roxanne is spelled like a chemical, ROXAN, Roxanne McDonald. And then you can also email us. I have to look at our email address thing. It's spiritualaf or whatever at gmail.com. And I think that's it. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks, Roxanne.
Goodbye. Oh, thanks, Joe.
When you're feeling shit out of luck, remember you're spiritual as fuck. Or whatever.